Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of I almost said just be, the Universal Lens. I am your co-host, John Emilio, along with
the astronaut co-pilot, Henry Beltra.
my trusty co-pilot. I am nothing without my co-pilot, and a co-pilot is nothing without his co-pilot. So this doesn't work, one without the other.
Yeah, this is like 2 feet. One goes, the other one goes, the other one goes.
That's it. That's what makes it work. One of the biggest compliments I've gotten since we started doing this show was that I hear a lot that you and Henry have a great rapport. Like you guys work well together. You feed off each other, and that's chemistry, right? It's
chemistry.
But
truth be told to everybody, it's love, man. It's crazy. It's
well, yeah. If you hate the fucking person across from you, I mean, it might not work that well, but yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a great compliment because we're not exactly professional broadcasters.
No,
and we're not exactly professionals. Anything this related. I mean, you were just a minute ago. I need a producer.
I said I need a minion. I need a minion to walk around to. I mean, you can't see. I love to show you. I don't think this is my remote's not working right now. But like I could use a minion to plug everything in, shut the lights back there, put this, just trying to get everything set up right. So
yeah. And
I don't have one,
and that means a lot because whoever said that is listening, and I thank them. And
a few people have. A few people have come up to me and told me, "Hey, listen, I love what you guys are doing. It's great." But they said, you guys really have a good chemistry between the two of you. So.
But the other thing is, we love this. Like we love putting this out. We love we love what this is about. We love where this can go, or where it's going, and
where it will go.
Yeah,
where it will go.
And we're real, like
see, you have faith.
Like literally, we were just talking about this yesterday about how very difficult for people to open up. Very difficult for people to open up. Let's say, when I say open up, like open up, in sometimes even to your friend or your closest relative, but let alone the world, let alone
it's hard,
wherever this goes.
It's hard for people to sometimes be vulnerable. I think that's probably the best word, right?
Probably. I would imagine that's probably why, right?
To make themselves so vulnerable to be like, hey, this is what.
Like if I open up, that means something soft about me.
You're becoming vulnerable, and you're opening yourself. Not that you are, but in your mind, you feel like you're opening yourself up to public criticism from people. What's somebody going to think because I said this? What's somebody going to think because I told my story or I told what I'm going through? So it's and we ended up ultimately saying it's not for everybody, right? A lot of people are still so attached with their emotions and their feelings and their thoughts and everything, where even though they would love, like, that's why people will and that's fine, right? It's not about trying to force anybody to do this or to come on the air or to talk about it or to tell their story. It's got to be a personal choice. You got to be ready for it, that you have to want to do. But the fact that I've had people, come be like, hey, John, can we grab a cup of coffee and can we talk? And we'll just, chat, and they want to pick my brain about maybe things I've been through, things I've studied, things I've done, how I got to where I was, what, made me want to write the book, what made me want to do this, how and what's and the way I approach things. And there's a story behind why they're asking. There's a reason behind. Most of the times it's not pure curiosity, like, hey, what's this about? I got nothing better to do today, talk to me. It's usually, I get it. I feel like this. I'm going through this. I'm attached to this. This is happening in my life right now, and I don't know how to stop the thoughts. I don't know how to stop the patterns. I don't know how to stop, the emotions that I'm going through. How do I control these things, and how do I go through these things? And they're usually based around that, but people won't come out and say it. And again, I said it's a personal choice, right? You have to want to come out and be like, hey, this is what I'm going through, or let me tell my story. And I think once you realize that not to take those thoughts in your head so seriously, I think you get there a little bit quicker, and people would maybe want to, discuss and talk about it a little bit more publicly. But again, it's a personal choice. But just the fact that people are even coming privately, for me, is is, hey, listen, it's a reach. We're, touching people, reaching people, getting to people, opening doors for somebody to want to look through something. I had a cousin text me this morning who's a physical therapist. And he said, hey, John, he goes, can you point me in the direction of, a therapist for OCD or anxiety, or does it make even a difference? Because I have a young patient who deals with a lot of chronic pain. He goes, I'm thinking it's more than just chronic pain, because I think there's a psychological part to that. And I was like, hey, listen, kudos, first of all, for thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
I said, there's more things that go into it with anxiety and OCD than just, chronic pain. But I said, there's definitely a psychological component to that. And I gave him, I go, hey, listen, here are some links. Here are some people. I said, if you want a specific name, I could give you names of a few therapists that I know that are excellent, especially in the city. So it's nice to see that it's even reached outside of where people are like, hey, listen, how can I apply this to what I'm doing? Because I think that'll work here. I think I can help. And this is physical therapy, right? This isn't, it's not, a psychological therapy or traditional therapy. It's somebody who's going for a muscular or injury or something or what. I don't know the whole story, but like
that's a very
he's looking to apply it there, which is great.
Keen observation.
Yeah. That's what I told him. I said, that's a great observation on your part. So.
Yeah. And I can see it. Psychosomatic, let's say, reflexes or psychosomatic.
Sure, there's a big proponent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we were going today, but that's how we started.
I'll tell you where we're going.
Where are we going?
We're all human.
Yes.
And we're flawed.
Absolutely.
And we're flawed. And even the best of us have bad times. But
yes, go ahead, continue.
But I would say having you, luckily, I think you would be good. Accept the credit.
I'm very bad at that, but thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice.
It's due. It's more than due. Yeah. This is a good channel to fall back on, and just, a good friend of mine yesterday was saying, rewatch our episodes, and
man.
and I, believe it or not, I do. I watch our episodes. Like, I watch it the same way a watcher would watch, meaning, once they go out, I'm interested, and then as I love rehearing, rewatching whatever we did, and it is great. It reinforces everything. But I'm human, and like I said, we have our ups and our downs, and hopefully we can learn how to, I guess, recognize how serious to take a certain thought, or what credence or what level of importance you want to give a certain thought.
Sure.
And I've had a few thoughts take me for a ride recently, and I need to come back, and maybe you don't have John next to you, but you have John here, you have me here, you have us here, and just come back and reinforce, and always reach out, a little private message, text, whatever it is you want to do, that's fine too. But even a co-host got a dose of the medicine.
Well, I think the important part there is all of us, not just you, a co-host, even me, the other co-hosts of the show. I have to practice also. And I said to you, I go, there are things that we were talking about yesterday that when we were in our discussion, I was kind of refreshing myself and being like, hey, you know what? I was getting caught up in this habit or that habit, and I was around these people for a while, and I noticed my language changing a little bit, which was kind of like pulling me away from this, or I was noticing these things happening. So, I mean, listen, we're all human, and that's part of the experience, but the practice is practicing it every day, not waiting until you're in crisis to practice it, which is great when it's there and you're in crisis to practice it. But if you practice this every day, if you make it a way of life, those times when they do come up, because they will for all of us, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're going to deal with challenges in life. You're prepared for them. You're not caught off guard as much as you would be, or anywhere near what you would be if you didn't have any sort of mindfulness or awareness in your life at all, or presence, where now your mind just grabs you and takes you for a ride, right? And a lot of it is because you're making emotional decisions. You're making decisions that are based on your emotions at that point, not on a higher level of thinking, not in a calmer, more present, more mindful, intelligent mind where you shift your focus. And we said this before in episodes, right? Shifting your focus, where you shift your focus to where you want it to be. Instead, your mind's going, but what about a year down the line from now? What about 2 years down the line? What about 6 months from now? What about 3 months from now? And it always comes down to, well, that's not now.
Yeah.
It's not now. But the decisions you make now will have some sort of an effect on that. And if your decision making is clouded right now because you're so dragged into the future that you're not giving your energy to this moment right now, well then, you're at a disadvantage. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage for making better choices that could help you in the future.
Well, yesterday you said something so like key. And it's not like I haven't heard it before. It's not like I didn't know it. Like, believe me, it wasn't in my mind.
We forget it.
It wasn't in the file cabinet. It wasn't anywhere. And until you said it, it was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. So, as a guy who experiences anxiety, that is a direct result of thoughts that creep in and carry you and then take you for a spin.
Yeah.
You said yesterday, he goes, that's just your brain's way of saying, hey, I'm trying to take care of you.
Yeah, sure. It's
and
not
doing
your
his
enemy.
job.
Yeah.
This is how he does his job. And you fall prey to that. And the way he does his job is to terrify the crap out of you and give you this anxiety that you can't function. And you go ahead and you listen to that, or let's say you fall into that, I don't know, rumination, or you fall into that.
Sure, it is a rumination. No, it's a rumination, yeah.
And there you go. And even the best of us, like I said, and I told you, when I was in and out of, let's say, these very strong episodes, I would just park my body somewhere because I wasn't comfortable anywhere. I'd lay down on the floor. For some reason, that kind of helped. I don't know why.
Yeah, and I've heard that before. It's a go-to one. A lot of people.
I didn't know I just didn't know where to do it. I would have gone to the roof. I don't know where. I didn't know.
No, I'm not trying to laugh, but I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And then I laid there, and then I did my breathing. And as I did my breathing, I felt myself like wanting to go to sleep, and like my mind was kind of, okay, we're gonna go. And then that thought goes, where are you going? Like, where are you going? Like, no, we have to sit here and worry about this.
And then you get caught up in the rabbit hole again.
Yeah.
And you chase it, and you get stuck with.
Say, okay, let's break it again. And I did that cycle for a few times, and so I guess some of us have to.
Remember, it's a practice. Doesn't mean it's not doing it because you're expecting a certain result. It's doing it because eventually it becomes easier to just do. Because you get better at it, because navigating your mind becomes a little bit more natural. It's not because you're expecting, like if I was having an anxiety, if I was going through some anxiety or whatever, and I started doing my breathing, and I'm breathing, and I'm okay, so let's go back. When I was in Italy, the first time I was in Italy, remember I said when I went to Italy, I had that whole fiasco with the plane getting there, the airport went on fire or whatever. My first night there, right, and I was there by myself. My family wasn't with me, and I'm not a huge fan of traveling without my family because I like to be around my family. Yeah. But anyway, I went. I was fine. My first night there, when I was sleeping, when I was trying to go to bed, I felt very uncomfortable, very anxious. And it wasn't a specific thought. It wasn't a specific theme. I just felt very unsettled and anxious, where I got up a couple times and I just kind of walked around my mother's apartment. She has like a big apartment where they are. And I walked around just once or twice, like literally 10 seconds, 20 seconds, went to the bathroom, got a sip of water, and I came back. I lied back in that. And I felt like I wanted to do it again. And this time I said, I'm getting up. I'm going to sit here. And I said, welcome. And I literally said to myself, welcome the thoughts, accept the thoughts. I'm like, they could be here. They could be here with me. They're not wanted, but they're here anyway. And within probably 15, 20 minutes, I was out like a light and I fell asleep. And I woke up the next morning. But it took me about an hour to really get there because it caught me a little off guard because I wasn't expecting this to come. I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know why it was there. No idea. But my mind wanted to maybe different surrounding, different country, time zone change.
Something was-
Just everything was different. And my mind, part of my mind, my amygdala most likely was like, this something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. It didn't know what didn't feel right, and it was putting me into a little bit of an anxious mode. Instead of me trying to answer that constantly, I just sat with that uncomfortable feeling, not expecting it to change, being like, hey, you know what? You're here. Good. Stay here with me. And all of a sudden, it didn't feel like a big bad wolf anymore. It felt like I'm allowing you to be here. You're not here unwanted. You're not here as an enemy. You're not here as some invader. You're here. You're here as a guest. Come on in. Sit with me. Stay with me, anxiety. As much as I time out, it sucked. I didn't want it to be there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I was like happy about it. I would rather have been like, times where I'm peaceful and calm and everything just feels easy to navigate. But this very instant, for some reason, and these things that happen in life, I felt very uncomfortable, and I just allowed it to be there. And I allowed it to be there, not wanting it to disappear. And when you do that, especially the more you do, that's why I say it becomes a practice. And the more you practice it, not to say that the thoughts go away completely, because that's the point, but eventually you start to acclimate to that, and you find yourself being able to detach and focus where you want to focus. Remember you said, it was funny, John, we were talking for 5 minutes. I completely forgot about the reason why we were talking about what we were talking about. We kind of had a side subject. Yeah. I was like, isn't it funny how your mind will forget and you'll be okay? All of a sudden, like everything's okay in the world because that thought wasn't there. But then the thought comes in, it's like, oh, here's the thought again. I was like, but I go, pay attention to that. How is it when the thought is there? Oh, I'm not okay. When the thought's not there, I am okay. I go, don't make it matter if the thought is there or not there. You focus where you want to focus. You put your focus where you want it to be. You live your life how you want to live your life in spite of those thoughts being there. And that is where you kind of start to transcend it. And now there's not a set of rules or tools or things that have to happen in order for you to be okay. Now you could be okay. And I use the word okay, like you could be great. You could be at peace. You could be in a place of serenity, even with those anxious thoughts or those depressing thoughts or whatever they might be present in your face.
Yesterday, you reminded me again about this one. So my pattern, or my train of thought. Let's say my what do you call it? Like my operating system.
Yeah, your OS, whatever. Yeah, whatever you want to name it.
The one that God gave me and my childhood and upbringing, let's say, wired, is to think of these things in terms of a war, right? Very.
You have a very combative mentality. Let's beat this.
Right, beat it, kill it, get out of here.
Yeah, which isn't very helpful.
And yesterday, when you said, "No, let it in."
Yeah, no fight. What are you fighting?
Take a seat. And then I'm like, man, that's incredibly, like, that's more powerful than anybody can imagine, because I'm a guy who that thought took me, and not just one, but one leads to the other, leads to the other.
Yeah, sure.
OCD, right? One leads to the other, leads to the other.
And before you know, you're 10 feet down a rabbit hole and you have no idea how you got there.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah.
A rabbit hole. I could shake hands with the devil. I went so far down.
Been there, done that. Yep.
So and then you said that, and I can't tell you that, as scary as you would think that would be, it's not as scary as it is. In other words, you'd think it would be scarier than it is, but it's not. And I think the reason is you kind of take the power out of the thought, because you give it a false power, let's say.
That's a great way of putting it. Right? Yes.
So like if this were martial arts, right? And I had before me a really tough opponent, and the guy looks huge, the guy looks like he's gonna rip me to shreds and whatever. And I'm in the ring, and I could sit there and entertain it. I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna. Or I could say, have a seat. And now we're sitting down, and now we're gonna just have a seat.
Yeah.
And it changes the dynamic.
Sure, it does.
It's really weird.
Sure, it does. Absolutely.
It kind of helps. And then, like you said yesterday, where you kind of want to.
I said a lot of shit yesterday, didn't I?
John.
I try to make light of it.
Yeah, and honestly, you're worth every penny. Wait, you know that?
I'm like, it's fucking getting paid for. Somebody, am I missing something?
Hopefully.
Nah, no. It's
So,
okay.
where were they going with this?
Oh, you had a me moment. You had a me moment.
But the point is how powerful that. Oh, then you said that even though you're feeling okay, you want to call it once in a while and say, "Hey, where are you?"
Yeah. Well, you invite it in unexpectedly. You're like, and even like where everything, you're having a great moment, and now you start to realize, wow, okay, I've been really good for the last few hours or whatever. Like, these thoughts aren't bothering me. Let me invite it in. Let me bring it on and bring the anxious feelings with it. And if there's no anxious feelings with it, that's fine. If there are, that's fine. It shouldn't matter one way or the other, right? And that's part of the process of it. I mean, this is some of what I'm saying is therapeutic more than it is spiritual. Actually, this is probably a lot of it. But it's a great tool to have, and that's really part of ACT, acceptance commitment therapy, which you don't need to be a therapist to really teach, or you don't need to go to a therapist to really learn. It is great to learn it from a therapist, but there are books you could read about it. ACT. There's books about ACT. There's The Happiness Trap, which is a phenomenal book about ACT.
I was going there.
Yeah. So there's tons, and that's acceptance commitment therapy, and it is phenomenal because that's where it teaches you to see your thoughts and go, you're just a thought. You're just a thought. A thought never hurt anybody. A thought never killed anybody. A thought never harmed anybody. How you identify with that thought, how you approach that thought, how you take that thought and make your choices based on that thought, how much what's the word I'm looking for? Credence or weight you give to that thought, that's where it is. Or else it's just a thought. I could have a million thoughts. I could have a thought from a pink bunny to murdering somebody.
Well, you probably do have a million thoughts.
Yes.
You just don't even think about it.
Look, as somebody who's experienced OCD for most of his life, and at one point, if you read the book, you can follow the show, it was like off the charts retarded, like stupid, like it was
crippling.
Yeah, it was crippling. It's the variations of thoughts that would run through my head on a daily basis were just, it was, words wouldn't describe them, how some of the things that were running to your mind. And when I was given each of those thoughts, like the thoughts that I like, oh, that's a nice thought.
Right.
That means I'm a nice guy. Then the thoughts that, oh, why would I think that? What kind of person am I that would think that? That's got to mean I'm a bad person because I had that thought. But then I started, and this is where one of the things I started learning as I was kind of going through the process. Well, hold on a second. If I'm having this thought, I don't like this thought. And this is where we said the spiritual part came into it for me. Hold on a second. So who's the one that's seeing me have that thought, that's saying, or that's having this feeling or this knowing that says, I don't like that. I don't like that thought. So if I don't like that thought, why do I have to be that thought? Why do I have to align with that thought? Why do I have to believe that thought? I could just say, hey, thought. Yes, and in the beginning, it's not that easy. Don't get me wrong. It's not a hey, thought. Bye-bye. It's like, hey, thought. And thought's like, nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Or maybe for this few minutes, but I'm gonna get you.
It's gonna be like that kid that goes like this, daddy, 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 daddy. At one point, you want to be like, shut the fuck up, But instead, the best way to do it is just let it say, daddy, 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 daddy. Let it tap you on the shoulder, as annoying as it might be, and as painful it might be to have it there, and whatever emotions come up with it. But you're engaging is what tells your mind that thought was important to John. That thought is important to John. We can't make him forget, or we can't make Henry forget that, right? So see that thought and be like, all right, you're a thought. I don't like you, thought, because you make me anxious. You make me feel like this. You want to take me here in dark places. You want me to feel bad about myself. You're not a what? You're not a helpful thought. You're not a useful thought. So thought, you could be there. I'm just not going to focus on you. But that secondary person that shows up is where we said, well, that's where kind of that spiritual for me. Again, I'm like, well, if I'm having the thought, who the hell's watching this thought that's saying I don't like it? Well, so now there's two of us.
Well, there's a physical component, right? So this is my brain, right? And then you hold your brain, right? You hold your brain in front of you.
Yeah.
and you could say, "This is a thought that's supposed to be in here, but I'm still here.
No, yeah, that's a great.
Right?
It's a great way to
My brain is here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if I can talk about my
It's
thought
a great example. Yeah.
and basically say,
Thank you, thought.
there
Yeah.
are other thoughts. So then, who am I?
That's watching this. That's looking at it. That's realizing that it's there. That's where you start to realize that there's something inside you that watches this all happen, and that's what we call I with spiritual teachers have been saying for eons. They call the watcher your presence, this awareness, this higher intelligence, something that we can't explain, but we know it's there, and it's the one that goes, "I see you." Without even, it's not even saying I see you. It's you notice that it's there, and you notice that you're watching it. Once you notice you're watching your thoughts, you've detached. You're no longer your mind, where you have a thought, immediate thought, reaction, emotional response, physical response, because that's how the body works. Here comes a thought. Thought alerts Henry. I'm going to use Henry's name. Henry's amygdala gets alerted. We don't like this thought. Here it goes. It hits the bloodstream, and you start getting flooded with cortisol, and heart rate goes up, palms get sweaty, you get into a state of anxiousness, you feel tight, tense, and it's just it becomes a chain reaction. But if you get it in the infinite stage and you go, "Hey, thought," but you see yourself watching it, well, now there's this space, and in that space, you know what you get to do?
Decide.
Choose. Yeah, you get to decide. Do I want to engage you? I don't have to. And the thought might be like, "But I'm still going to make you feel anxious, John." Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this is like a seesaw. So you fall down, and then because you have the ability to choose the thought.
Sure.
Now you want to choose the high thought. And that's where the happiness trap comes in, where I hate being anxious and sad.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to shoot for the one that brings me up the seesaw.
Okay.
And that's a trap. I think that's a trap because
Well, because go ahead.
It's like going ahead and I just had a little bit of lemonade. So it's like going ahead and having a sugary lemonade. And you're like, that was good. But like all sugar, you're gonna have some sort of
crash.
Yeah,
sugar high. Yeah, call it sugar high.
So I think what ends up happening is you have to find that middle. And this isn't to say that if you're feeling happy, don't go with it. Yeah, sure, feel happy.
Of course, yeah.
But I think like if you're in a very deep, let's say, anxious, depressed state, and now you say, I want to seek for that happy, joyous. I don't know if that's advisable. Again, I don't know about let's say giving that advice or not, because certainly I would rather want to see somebody in a happy state as opposed to it.
Well, yeah, sure. It's human nature. Nobody wants to see anybody sad or upset. We all want to see people happy and glad.
I don't know how let's say good that is. I don't know how useful that is for if somebody's in the dumps, and then you say, well, seek. Just like you can choose to be in the dumps because you chose to be in the dumps. Well, you can choose to not be in the dumps, and
sure, yeah. I mean, that's why it's a choice, yeah. But like we were saying before and you were saying it becomes a happiness trap because then you start saying, well, I don't want these thoughts, so I'm only going to try to have those thoughts. But now you're doing what? Now you're trying to not decide which thought to choose. You're what's the word I'm looking for? We said it yesterday. You're competing. You're having a competition with the thoughts.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you're competing. When you have competing thoughts and you're like, well, no. Well, I only want these thoughts. It's not a selective process. You get to choose which ones you want to focus on. You don't get to choose which ones you have. So if somebody's telling you, have happy thoughts, tell that person, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your help, and walk away. That's not very helpful, but because you can't choose just to have happy thoughts. You could choose to focus on your happy thoughts or joyful thoughts or things that are more positive, but it doesn't mean that the negative, sad, mean, ugly, nasty ones aren't there. When you try to have, I only want positive thoughts, and I'm gonna be positive, and I'm gonna shoot for positive all the time. Well, now you're saying, I don't want these thoughts. So when you say you don't want these thoughts, you're actually creating like a marker in your mind that says, John doesn't like these. Why doesn't John? And if you have an anxious mind, that's where your trap really gets. Why doesn't John like these thoughts? Well, they got to be important that John doesn't like these thoughts. You know what we're going to give him? We're going to give him friggin' more of these thoughts because he doesn't like him, which means there's a reason why. And it's a backdoor trap.
Hence why you said, no, let it in.
Yes, let it in. Sit right here on my lap.
Let it in.
Knock yourself out.
Let it in. Be with it. But you don't have to pay attention to it, but it's there.
It's there. You don't have to like that it's there, but you could put your focus where you want it to be. But don't need it to go away. And that's how eventually they start to go away. And then they'll sneak back up, and they might come back up on you. And these don't have to be thoughts about obsessive compulsive disorder like mine or a special theme. It could be real life events that you're going through. Anything. It really can. It's always your choice where you want your focus to be. Take anger, for example, right? People hold on to anger. Oh my God. Like it's, I need to be justified. Yes. I will hold on to this.
That's a tough one.
But I didn't say, I've always heard other spiritual teachers say anger is like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's correct.
You poison yourself with anger. So people are like, why don't you get angry anymore? John, you're never angry. You never get mad. Oh, what are you? You're very passive? Not that I'm passive. I mean, I guess in a way I am, but I'm not passive where I don't speak up for myself or I don't try to correct a situation if I feel it needs to be corrected. But it's where getting angry at you and then, do you believe what he did? Do you believe those people? Do you believe her? Do you believe him? Do you believe that politician? Do you believe what happened on the news? Do you believe it? And you get angry about it, and that's not right. And your blood pressure goes up. And all the chemicals in your body start to poison your blood at that moment. What's the accomplishment there? So now people go, what, you don't get angry? Time out. I could feel anger. I choose not to engage the anger. That's the difference. So I could feel like, oh God. Like that thought comes, did that person really just say that? It's there. It's like, it's right here, but it hasn't engaged me physically, but it's there, the thought. And it's like, come on, go for it. Say it. If I engage it, now I unleash everything because now I bought into it and I'm acting on it, right? I'm acting on the anger, whether it's verbally or physically, or I could have that thought and be like, it's there. Anger is a thought. Anger starts off as a thought, the same way anxiety starts as a thought, the same way depression starts as they all start as a thought. Do you believe that guy? Anger thought. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Anxious thought. My life's the worst. Depressing thought. I'm the best. Happy thought. They all start as a thought. When you engage the thought, when you believe the thought, when you follow with that thought, when you identify with that thought, that's when that thought then starts to have more and more physical feelings with it. And on top of that, creates more thoughts like that and keeps you in this loop. So the same way you could have an anxious thought, let's get off anxiety for a little bit and we'll talk about like people who have road rage, anger. Do you believe that guy cut me off? Oh, I gotta go get him. Oh, fuck yeah. Instead, when that guy cuts you off, here comes the thought, because I love driving and I've driven cars on racetracks. I don't encourage anybody to drive fast. I like driving cars that have bigger engines with a little bit more speed, taking them on controlled courses to drive them fast. So I'm into that. It's something I've had a passion since I'm a kid. When somebody would cut me off back in the day, it's on. Like, it's on. Let's go. I'm gonna, it's called drafting. I'm gonna be so close to your bumper where you're gonna drag me and I'm not even hitting my accelerator. Like, it's like, that's the kind of person I was back in the day when I was really, really emotional. Now, when somebody cuts me off, yes, sure, the thought comes, okay, now I know what happens if I engage that person and follow. My hands get sweaty, I get all amped up, my adrenaline starts flowing, my heart starts racing, and like my thoughts get all cluttered. Instead, I watch it and I say, there's no benefit in me engaging it. My mind could be calling that guy an asshole for cutting me off. I'm not even going to engage that. You take 2 deep breaths. And I focus where I want my focus to be. My wife's in the car, my kids are in the car, whatever. I'm driving, and I noticed that within 5-10 seconds, if it seemed, wow, that was stupid that I was going to chase that guy and actually do this and endanger myself and somebody else just for the need to follow that angry thought.
It's emotional maturity.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
It is. And have you ever had, or you ever think you had, anger management issues?
Me? No, I never. I always had it. It's gonna sound weird. I had it under control, I guess, when I was younger. I did have anger, but it was never violent. My anger was more egoic, like, hey, fuck you, I gotta be right. More than I was never a fighter. Like I was never a fighter, never got physical with people. Just I was very, even when I was very egoic and my mind, I was very identified, I was still very empathetic. So I would never like get physical with people. So anger management where I would lose myself. I mean, I could think maybe once or twice in my life where I kind of had that black, like, you know, where you blank out. Like maybe once or twice it's happened when I was a kid. I got so mad, like I threw something or I got mad, I punched the wall with, and then I just step back. I'm like, what the hell did I just do? I'm like, God, I'm a fucking idiot. So I mean, but not anger management, no.
So-
but definitely, anger and anxiety mixed in with it at times.
Well,
Sure.
as a kid, I had some special anger. I wouldn't say I was a special in the sense I was fit to be tied, or but
Yeah.
I certainly had issues. A lot of issues.
Anger issues or
Anger.
okay.
Yeah. So
I mean, a
not
lot of
on-
it's your
not only
upbringing
not only
sometimes.
beating up other people, but even beating up myself.
Huh?
It was I had some anger issues. So, and by the way,
All right,
so when I reached 13, I realized
puberty,
I realized
hormones are raging.
this is not right. This is not this way of being. So since that age, I made a conscious effort at that age to like peel off, like to the point that like I would grab remote controls and just destroy it, just because I need to destroy something.
Yeah, those are anger issues. I don't know if
And by the way, the remote control just comes to mind because
no, but I know I know what you're saying. I get it.
so
Understood.
and I can if I can self therapize, I think I know where it comes from. But
Yeah. Another episode for
right.
another week.
nonetheless, where I'm going is I've worked on myself on the anger side. Like anybody that meets me today goes, "You don't have an anger issue." And you're right, I probably don't. But
Nowadays,
that dark
I
horse
don't see
lives
that.
inside of me. Kind of like all the thoughts.
It's not a dark horse. It's just another stream of thoughts.
Correct.
Don't even call it a dark horse because now you're giving it an identity. You're naming it something.
But the other day, as you're telling your story, I had this situation on the road, and I'm telling you that the road doesn't bother me. You know how much I drive. The road doesn't bother me because I trained myself to not let that bother me. But this guy bothered me. This prick, like I don't know. I guess he didn't want me cutting in front of him. I just merged. Oh no, he wasn't having any of it. I just merged. Like nothing happened. Like literally, blinker. Legit.
Yeah, I got you.
He went up my ass.
Mm-hmm.
Waited till they get to the traffic light where there's room because there was 2 lanes. So now under the traffic light, there's room. He goes around me, gets next to me, and is looking at me like they're giving me some shit. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And now he's on the other side of the road, against traffic, and then he zooms and cuts in front of me. The old me, and I guess the old you, would have probably done the whole drafting the drafting thing.
Oh yeah.
And for a
God, that
split
was
second,
so bad back in the day.
so for a split second, the thought process was, "You motherfucker, fuck you." It literally lasted 30 seconds, where you say a few choice words and you let that guy rage.
Yeah, you let it go. You let it go.
So I mean, where was I going? Is that I've had time to digest anger, the special thing called anger that I had trouble with as a youngster, and as time went on, I do it right, as far as anger goes. Right now, it's anxiety that is another.
So it's no different.
No,
So that's what the point I was trying to make before.
I just had more time addressing one.
The anger thought, right, maybe doesn't strike a nerve on you as much as the anxious thought does now. But both of them, I'm not a therapist, but from what I've learned in my life, are just thoughts. Like you said before, does the anger thought stem from a certain? But all whether it's an angry thought, an anxious thought, or a sad thought, honestly, they all stem from somewhere. There's some sort of behavior that was trained or learned, your environment, your upbringing. There could be 1,000 reasons to why it's there. And instead of spending thousands of dollars, nothing against, great therapists, trying to figure out where that thought came from to resolve that, and that doesn't necessarily make the thought go away either.
Right. All right,
And it's just saying the thought is here. I don't have to give it the credence. I don't have to give it the energy that it's asking for. I'm not repressing the thought, right? This isn't we always say acceptance is the opposite, complete opposite of repression. When you repress something, you're holding it down. No. Acceptance is the opposite. Acceptance is this.
Come on in.
Yes. Come in. Welcome into my room. Welcome into my house. Welcome. Sit on my lap. Anger, sit on my shoulder. Anxiety, sit on this shoulder. Depression, sit on my head. Knock yourself out. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to focus on, I'm with my family right now. I'm going to focus on, I'm watching TV right now. I'm going to focus on, I'm on a walk. I'm going to pay attention to the sound of the birds. I'm going to become present in the moment. Not expecting all of whatever thought it was to go away, angry thought, anxious thought, whatever it is, while I'm driving my car. Not expecting it to go away, but I'm allowing you to be there. By allowing it to be there, I am not giving it the energy that it's asking for. I'm just allowing it to be there. Nor am I pushing it away. Like we said yesterday, right? It's not about keeping the door closed and trying to hold them out, because you won't win that battle. That's why it's not a battle. Once we come to the conclusion that this isn't a fight, and you realize there is no fight, your thoughts no longer become enemies. They just become thoughts. And you could focus on the issues at hand. And again, this is one thing I always hear, but you don't have to deal with the issues. You don't know what it's like. You don't understand. I have this problem at work. I have this problem at home. I have this problem. If you listen to the last 3 episodes, while listen on the level of issues in life, yes, maybe airline inconveniences, stolen cars, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure they're not grave things. They're enough to get somebody angry. They're enough to get pissed and want to get mad at this or that or the other thing. I choose not to let them steal my peace. So if it's an anxious thought, if it's something that's really happening, right? There's an issue at work. We're having some hard times to deal with things. The thought of what's going to be in 6 months from now is not going to be helpful. But I could focus on what I'm doing now and be present. And by the way, enjoy where I am in my life now, even though that stuff is happening. Because you don't get another redo of today. You don't get a redo of this moment. It doesn't happen that way. So why not be present here and give this moment the attention it deserves while you're focusing on resolving an issue or dealing with something or whatever it might be? Because things are going to happen in life. They're going to happen to me. They're going to happen to him. They're going to happen to everybody. And people that they say they don't happen to them, listen, God, good for you. God bless. If you're able to keep it in a box of your life, that's great. I have nothing against. That's awesome. Good for you. But majority of people who have mess in their boxes, right, who have to deal with things in their life, it's how do you want to live your life? What choice do you want to make?
Yeah, and it's tough if you're not a black belt in.
You don't have to be a black belt. Man. You don't have to be a black belt. Yes, it's nice when you have years of experience under your belt. Sure, because but it's a constant practice. So if I become a black belt in karate, because you just said black belt. If I become a black belt in karate, and I'm doing I get my black belt, and I've been breaking boards, and I'm at the type of my game. Let's go, yeah. What happens if I don't pick up? If I don't practice anything for 3 years?
Oh yeah.
I might not forget them, but what happens to that skill?
Definitely rusty.
It gets rusty, right? They say you never forget how to ride a bike. You don't, but you're probably not going to ride the bike as fast, as proficient as you used to, because you're not practicing it. So if you don't practice this, sure, you might remember how it works, but if you're not practicing it in your daily life, in good times or in bad times, and then it's going to be a little rusty when you try to call it. That's why I say it's a daily practice of life. It's not a break in case of emergency only, because then it's okay. It's a fire extinguisher, and maybe it helps. But now, how big is the fire? And my extinguisher going to be enough? Or instead, I'm going to be more like the wildfire firemen who start controlled fires all around. This way we don't have a big blaze because they practice. They practice. So it becomes if this becomes a daily practice in my life or in your life, the way we look at life changes. And we could actually have a whole discussion on that next week on how people who have spiritual awakenings, how their life does change. And it gets painful for a very long time. Like you find this bliss, but then the bliss becomes painful because you feel a disconnect all of a sudden.
I get it. I get
Yeah,
that.
you feel and we could do a whole episode on that. But to kind of stay what we were talking about with the emotions and the thoughts, I mean, it's your choice.
Yeah,
it's always your choice.
Yeah. It's almost like you can't believe it, especially when you're in a real rumination scenario or let's say episode. It's almost like it's impossible. It's impossible. You feel like this is the end of the world. And in reality, once you realize that you allowed that thought to run away with you, like, oh man, I did. Yeah, the problem it may come from a real problem in the real world.
Sure, absolutely, that happens.
And you do have to address that, but
a real issue. Don't make it a problem.
You're probably right. You're probably more apt to deal with that issue with a more even keeled mind as opposed to
not probably. Definitely.
Right.
Yeah, you're definitely more apt to deal with it. Sure. Because like you said, issues are going to arise. Work, family, health, right? Issues are going to arise in life. So we could deal with the issue while having acceptance for what is, because we can't change what is, and moving forward from there and having a very present, aware mentality, which allows us to focus better and understand that this is happening. Whether we like it or not, this right now is happening. What choice do you have? What choice do you have? And I get sometimes I make it sound easier than it is, and a lot of spiritual teachers do, and maybe it's because they've gotten to a point where it feels like it, because they just adopted this way of life. But it's, even though we make it sound, or I make it sound at times easier than it is, it's a constant practice, and the more you implement it, the more things will change in your life and how you approach them and how you see them. And even when those times of anxiety come, because they're going to come, or those times of sadness come, whether it's death of a family member or something tragic happens. I mean, those emotions, you can't help them from coming up. Like you can't help from feeling at sometimes jealous or angry. Those feelings are going to come up just because of a thought you had sometimes. But you get to choose, do I want to engage them and have them affect the way I'm going to live my life or not? I could allow them to be there, but still live my life, a valued life. What do I value? I value spending time with my family. I value helping people. I value this. I value that. Well, why should that change because of this? You can still live your valued life even in the midst of whatever's happening, in your life. So,
yeah, and you reminded me of that because I love to do this. I love to do this show. I love to put some of my dirt out there because I feel that it connects. It connects. Like I could totally see people going, yeah, I feel that way sometimes, or
I get it,
and that's why I throw it out there.
Yeah, I understand, Henry. Oh, I get that. Wow, so I'm not the only one. No, you're not the only one.
I throw it out there because if you can relate and you're quiet about it, and you might not, because again, luckily for me, like how we knew each other. We had a bond before we even had a bond. But that day you come to me.
I think we're separated at birth. We just don't know it yet.
But that day you come to me and you tell me, I'm struggling with some stuff, and I'm like, what's up? And then you tell me, I'm like, man, me too. And I'm like, and then you were openly talking about it with me. I'm like, this is strange. Nobody's ever told me that they have these issues, and I'm totally.
We used to go for walks during baseball practice. We disappear for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I'm totally like understanding what you're saying. I'm like, oh my God, John, me too. And this is why we get the props, because I don't think we have a problem opening up. Like, obviously, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, there's certain lists. You don't have to tell. It's not about telling everybody what's happening in your life. Personal issues are personal issues.
But you know that I'm going through something, and you know that I had some trouble, and you know that John helped me, and you know that I'm back on a better path because of all the things that we the tools that we talk about, the practice of this, and even sometimes guys that practice this and do a show about it can fall, can slip and fall.
Yeah, we are human.
We're human. But like, if you guys would have seen me yesterday, you would realize there's no way. There's no way. And here I am today. And if I didn't say anything, maybe it wouldn't catch on.
No,
know?
I don't think it would have.
But believe me, yeah, there's stuff going on in my life, but
everybody's got stuff going on in
Right.
their life, right?
Right.
Not to minimize.
No, but that's exactly right. No, because in my life, you have meetings with people, meetings with other businesses, and when people start to bring in their personal life in a business meeting, it's almost like they need to vent, they need to air.
Yeah,
that's the feeling I get, because
sometimes people are looking for an outlet, and they're trying to see, is this one, like, will this person like understand what I'm saying? Will they get it? Are they going through something also? And for us, when we first became, even when we first became friends, this wasn't, we weren't about this. But when I opened up to you and you started kind of counseling me back in the day, a little bit back, right? Which was great for me. It was one of the first things that put me on a path. Like it was me saying, I remember coming home to my wife and telling her, I go, you have no, even though I never told her what we spoke about all the time, because we had personal stuff we spoke about from our upbringing and stuff like that. I was like, you would never believe how much me and Henry are alike, and how much like we are walking parallel paths, and like you didn't even know it. And you should always be like, that's great. It's awesome that you found somebody that that could kind of be that person, a sounding board for you. So so I mean, look, we could be that for you if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to.
That's
but
right. I think that's the purpose of this.
Choice.
And you mentioned yesterday, like, even if one person says your show has helped me so much, and you've gotten that already. I think we've gotten a few of those already.
Yeah, no, I have. I've gotten. I said I've had talks with people who just want to talk privately at times, and that's great. I always said, when we were talking yesterday, I said, when I wrote my book, when I started doing any of this, and it wasn't about the numbers of sold, it wasn't about the likes, it wasn't about how popular the show is. Sure, there's a part of your mind that wants things to work out really well for that too, but that wasn't the value part of it. The value part of it is, and I told everybody this, even when I had spoken to my therapist, maybe about a year and a half ago. We hadn't spoken in a long time. I said, hey, listen, can we I said, she knew I was writing the book, and we were like, I'm like, listen, can we just have a jam session? And I wanted to go over some stuff with her, get a professional opinion on stuff about what I was writing about, whatever. And I said, she's like, she goes, what's the main reason? I go, I want to help one person. I said, if I could help one person, it's a success. I mean, if I could reach one person and that person's life changes because of it, the way they look at things, not that they become like famous or rich or whatever, the way that they relate with their mind changes, the same way a spiritual teacher could reach 1,000 people nowadays with social media or whatever. I think if I could just reach one person, like I was happy with that back then. I mean, now I like that number to be bigger, because I realize, hey, listen, there are more people that we could reach and maybe open their eyes, and this is something that we want to not infect people with, but we want to,
infect is a good one.
Yeah, we want
to use a negative connotation for something positive.
So, anyway, I know we got a little topic there, but
that's all good. No, that's how you start. And you basically, I think it's the theory of starting small. And you started small. If this helps one person, and now we're, I think we should help one person.
Yeah, no, way more than that. And it's definitely way more than that, which is great. Which is great.
And by the way, as an author, I would think that that's kind of common. I'm sure you're not the first person, because like in the case of Scott Adams. Sorry to mention it again, but
you don't have to be sorry.
He wrote a book called "How to Fail at Everything and Still Win Big."
Yeah, right? I get it.
And he says that it's one of his bestsellers, and I would say it's probably one of the most useful books for life you can read. So definitely go check it out if you want. But he says, I wrote this book with my 14-year-old stepson in mind. It was for him. I was writing it for him.
For
So-
him.
so
Yeah, I get that. The main purpose was he wanted to reach him.
he wanted to reach him, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, because in doing so, you can reach
More
everybody.
people.
So,
Yeah.
So
I like that.
so he said, I
I
dumbed
like
down
that.
because I dumbed down my language in the sense I didn't want only.
You don't want to
say-
speak above him.
Well, like, I didn't want college education. No, I wanted anybody who picks up the book to understand. So I simplified my words. I shortened my sentences. I cleaned it up. He goes, and as an author, that's the best advice I can give you. If you see a sentence that's too wordy, you could probably reduce it by 30%.
Yeah. Yeah, but sometimes you know what it is that you feel if my book's on 150 pages, people aren't going to take it serious. And case in point, my book is only like 90 pages, I think, whatever it is. But it was 90 pages of content. That's it. I gave you content.
That's it.
There's not fluff.
Don't give it crap.
Yeah.
Don't fill it in with
Nothing against the books that do have 200 pages, because there's books
Right.
with 200 pages of content.
and which is the
Great for them.
opposite on because I'm a literature guy in the sense I like
It's funny, I'm not.
I like to structure sentences and grammar and give say floral words and make it nice and poppy. But the truth is that was old writing. Old writing looked for transitional phrases,
Yes.
the comma. So, and for example, the next sentence should be although,
Mm-hmm.
or in lieu of. Forget all that. Just today you got to go straight to the point, straight to the point. It's kind of we lost the floral arrangement of a paragraph. It's like
Yeah, that's just. I think that's just society in general nowadays, and it translates everything we do.
Yeah.
Including writing.
Anyway, so we ended up in writing.
Yeah, like I said, you get a little bit of everything with us. At times we'll go on tangents, and you might learn something about the moon next time. Who knows? I mean, I was. People always tell me I'm a vat of useless information. A lot of times, like I know a lot of shit about everything. I don't know. I'm not like. There's very few things I'm an expert in. But I know a lot of crap about everything. My brother-in-law always makes a joke. My brother-in-law Tom always tells me, goes, which hat are you going to wear today? Because we'd be having a conversation at times. He'd be like, this so-and-so is going through this medical procedure. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I heard of that. That's when they do this, do this, do this. And then we're talking to him and say that, my car was making this noise. It could be this, this, and this, this. This thing was upstairs. You know what? You should check the plumbing. If the vent line's not going to... And he always tells me, he goes, what fucking hat are you wearing today? He goes, you're a plumber, you're an electrician, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. I go, Tom, what do you want me to be? I go, I wouldn't take my advice all the way, but I can give you enough that'll get you in the door probably.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm like, so that was funny.
I guess.
So you never know what you're going to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've had a life that exposes to many different things, and we know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but not everything.
No.
And
what is the saying? The saying goes, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. How does the saying go?
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Is better than a jack of all trades and a master of none is better than being a master of one. That's the full saying. It's better than being a master. So it's saying, and that could be a very people could take offense to that, not offense to that, but it could be very what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing that statement, because other people, well, I'd rather be a master of one thing. I'm like, that's true. I'm more of a plethora. I mean, like when it comes to mindfulness, I won't say I'm a master, but I would say I'm very well versed in it, like stuff like this and spirituality and stuff like this. But I'm also a plethora of tons of useless information on top of it, So, oh, by the way, I got to give somebody props. The sign behind this right here was given to me as a gift by my nephew. It's like a nephew, a very close family friend. He's like a son to me, actually. As a thank you, whatever. I did something for him, but he, as a thank you, made the sign for me and brought it to my house. And you know what I love about it? I love that, like, he could have gone out and bought a sign and had one professionally made, right? Like, professionally made sign, probably spent $200 on Etsy, and it would have had like this engraving cut into the wood, because they're artists, these people that do phenomenal, right? But the fact that not only does it look really good on top of it, like it looks really, really good, but he made it by hand, cutting the wood, staining it, stenciling it, painting it, putting brackets in the back. For me, that shows something, right? That shows like a real gratitude. It's easy to go out and buy something, but to make something with your hands, right, is for me saying, hey, I appreciated what you did so much that I'm going to take time out of my life, not $10 out of my pocket, but time out of my life to make something for you. So Mateo, his name is Mateo. Mateo, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And it will be here for every episode. hanging behind us. So thank you,
100%.
buddy. I love you and I love it. So props,
100%,
man.
Mateo.
Yep.
Thank you, dude.
Yep. So on that note, we could go.
Yeah.
It's almost dinner time.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay. So thanks everybody for coming, like we always do. Definitely. Let's take some deep breaths. A little guided meditation here to close it out. We'll try to keep it. Nice and short because they don't need to be long. So, however you are comfortable, whatever works for you, because this is not it's not an ingredient list that you have to follow exactly. So, whatever works for you. If you're sitting, if you're standing, if you're walking right now, take some deep breaths. Try to do the same interval of inhale. So, if you want to do 3-4 seconds, inhale, hold it for that same amount of time. And then exhale, same amount of time for 3 or 4 seconds. A nice controlled breathing. It's a great way to start and enter that portal. As you're entering that, you might feel that your thoughts start to slow down. If they are, that's great. If they're not, that's great. You bring your focus back to your breath. If thoughts do arise and they start pulling you away, whatever the thought might be, you get to shift that focus where you want it to be. That's the control that we actually have. Shifting that focus back to the breath. If you're walking and you want to shift it to the feeling of your feet on the pavement, or the breeze through your hands or your hair, or a sound that you're hearing, or smell, whatever it might be, by all means, you could do that too. It's just shifting and noticing. Notice the thought and shift your focus to where you want it to be. Any feelings that might be in your body as you're breathing. Tense feelings, shoulders, neck, eyebrows, jawline, general anxiety in the body, feeling of uneasiness, anger, tension, whatever it might be. Notice it. We're not labeling it. We're not upset that it's here. We're not mad that it's here. We don't want it to go away. We don't need it to go away. We say thank you for being here. I know you're trying to help me in some twisted way maybe, but thank you for being here. And we bring our focus back to where we want it to be, what we want to focus on, what's truly important, what we value. That's the whole point of this. The breathing is just a portal. The meditation is a portal. So I'm hopefully you're continuing your breathing as I'm talking you through this. But remember, it's a portal to enter you into something greater than. So where you could be that watcher, notice the thoughts, notice the feelings, notice the pain, notice the emotion, but not be it, not attach to it, not identify with it. And be able to realize that you can live your life in spite of these thoughts, in spite of these emotions, the way you want to. And that's where the power is. Let's take a few more deep breaths. Since I spoke a lot during this one, I would suggest, if you can, now when we wrap it up, sit here for another minute or two and just breathe. Focus on your breath. Let's take one last one. Okay, let's open our eyes, and thank you very much, everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. I know I always do. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's why we do it.
Man, there's no doubt about that. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Peace out. See you guys next time.
See you.
Later. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.